All right, guys, I want to take this morning to share a couple bits of, I think, interesting information out there. First are a couple clips from Congressman Thomas Massie from Kentucky and also from Harriet Hageman from Wyoming talking about some of the agricultural propositions.
Of many of these programs that we are funding with money from the USDA. What could possibly go wrong with this research? Well, we found out a few years ago when a biotech company was experimenting, growing in corn a vaccine to keep pigs from getting diarrhea. What happened? Well, the next year where the corn was grown, the prior year, the corn came up and it got commingled with soybeans that were being grown there. It contaminated 500 bushels of soybeans, which were then commingled with 500,000 bushels of soybeans. And those all had to be recalled and destroyed. Luckily, they caught it. Do we want humans eating vaccines that were grown in corn meant to stop pigs from getting diarrhea? I don't think we want that to happen. Yet that almost happened, and it could happen. There's another case where the pollen cross-contaminated another crop of corn, and 155 acres of corn had to be burned. What are the cases where we're not discovering this? I think it's dangerous to play God with our food. I think we need a safe
in place that is effective, robust, and affordable. Some larger operations have voluntarily implemented EID because they have the resources and the manpower to do so. If small and medium operations are forced into this same system, however, and without the proper capital, they will be locked out of the markets. And my colleague just admitted that the funding in the rule doesn't provide adequate funding to implement the rule, and so it is going to cost our ranchers literally millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to comply. It's an unfunded mandate. This proposed rule is based on dubious assumptions and raises more questions than answers. It is a solution in search of a problem. It is dangerous and it should be stopped. I will finish with this. My amendment does not touch the cost offset in the bill. It merely addresses the flawed policy advanced by USDA. It does not prevent any American rancher, cattle producer, or bison producer to use EID technology, but it does not allow the USDA to mandate it. With that, I urge my colleagues.
All right, and so the one that Massie's talking about, this sort of genetic modification and vaccination in food being fed to animals, the funding for that, apparently his amendment passed, so they will not, apparently, taxpayers will not fund that. Now, it doesn't mean that technology will not continue to go forth under private investigation. So the question is, why are they even doing that? What is the potential benefit? I mean, we see the potential drawbacks, right? But the potential benefits, I think, purportedly are it's cheaper. That is to say, in case you don't know that, most animals that we consume are indeed vaccinated. Now, the thought is that by putting it in their feedstock, it just saves time and money, and so you don't have to individually administer shots. I assume that's why they do that. Now, again, the potential for disaster is certainly there. Now, the second thing that also was passed that Massie got amended was they were trying to ban herd shares or cow shares. So you couldn't go to a rancher and buy a side of beef or something like that locally, which again would have significant detrimental effects on the local rancher and again further consolidate and centralize the food supply, which again generally is a bad thing. Now, the one bill that Congressman Hageman was talking about that is still, I don't know if it's been up to a vote yet, but it's basically they want to put digital ID tags on animals. And I guess the thought behind that is so they can better track them. Well, they already have an ear tag system which they can do that. And the problem with this system is that it would bankrupt, again, a lot of smaller ranchers would not be able to afford the technology because it's quite expensive. And it would be an additional cost to them. And again, it would make it, for some of them, they would go out of business. And so that's some of the pushback. Also, there is some potential for some nefarious stuff with that as well. So these things are going on with our agricultural system, and I think it's important to be aware of this. It's important to let your representatives, whoever they may be, state or nationally, hey, we don't want this crap. Potentially look into the issue and see where you fall on whatever side that is. But in my view, I think Massey is right, Hageman is right, for various reasons. And then in final, I'd like to give a little shout out, a little kudos here. So there's a burger joint called Hop Dottie. Now they're in I think they have about 50 locations in about 6 or 7 states. I know they're in California, Florida, Arizona, Texas where they originate, Louisiana, and Colorado, I believe. And they are the largest, they just committed to this, they're the largest restaurant consumer, which means they provide you the food, of regeneratively raised meat. And my friend Matt Schweitzer, who's the vice president of the culinary development of that company, has been laboring for several years to make this true. They've initially had this Impossible Burger on the menu. He was trying to get it off, and there was a lot of pushback, but he finally got it off the menu. They did replace it with a homemade, like, vegetarian patty that they make themselves, which is far better than the processed garbage. So if you're a vegetarian and you want to go there, that's fine. But again, I talk about voting for winners and losers, and you vote with your dollar. And to be fair, the regenerative burger at Hop Daddy is going to cost you about $1 more than the non-regenerative one, but I think it makes sense to do. And again, hats off to those guys that are going out there. If the consumer market demand is there, more companies will do this. Will further improve our food system in this way, which I think is very important. All right, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll talk to you soon.